Welcome to Bear, brought to you by Giddy, the world's largest sexual health platform.
I'm Marissa Sullivan, and I'm here with sexual health advocate Katie Haan, also an actor, and you're a big TikTok influencer.
Yeah.
And your big tagline, peer-led sex ed.
Yes, that is my hashtag.
What sparked all of this and your interest in sexual health?
All right, so I have always been the friend that all of my friends come to for health and sex relationship advice. And I think that was just because I was brought up in a household where if I had a question, my mom was like, here's 8 books on it.
Oh.
Have fun. I really commend her that she was just like, I don't know, but I want you to have the tools.
Yeah, she didn't
so
BS any answers for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I was raised. So then I got to college and I would talk very openly about sex with friends. And I had so many friends that were like, where'd you learn this? Who told you that? What?
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you not know this? Did you not get the books? Because I got the books. I read all of them. And TikTok was popping off in quarantine. Mm-hmm. And my girlfriend was actually like, you always talk about being a sex ed advocate. Why don't you do that on TikTok? It's the perfect medium.
Yeah.
And I put it off and I put it off. And she was like, just stop trying to make it perfect and just make one and then see what happens. And then my first one got 500,000 views.
You're communicating in such a fun way. Yeah.
I'm just a person who's wanting to talk about things and
less intimidating.
Yes, and talk about things that we have been told for so long we're not allowed to talk about. And it's why? Why can't I just be a girl who wants to talk about it and start the conversation? Because we need to get over this idea that we can't talk about it. So often we are thinking about pleasure in terms of performance instead of pleasure, that performance is prioritized over pleasure.
And it's holding us back.
And it's holding us back because we think, oh, this is what I saw in whatever the thing I was watching on the internet on that sketchy website. Mm-hmm. This is what I need to do.
Right.
And that is not the way to tap into be connecting with another person. My follower base is very, very young, and so I'm often talking about how to approach first kisses, first crushes, and things like that. And I think that if we all collectively understood that you need to come at pleasure from a standpoint of first understanding what you like and knowing your body and what you're interested in and being able to articulate that. The communication.
Being able to speak up.
We are just told that we can't talk about it. And I feel for the first time we're having so many people be like, but why? Why though? Honestly, I could write a whole thesis about all of the topics that have been shunned by society, money, sex. Half the population has a period. Yeah. Why can't we just talk about it for what it is?
And can we talk about sex on your period? Because there's the people that are don't give a F. They will go down on you, whatever. Exactly. And then there's the people, one little glimpse of blood, and they're they snarl, and they're so disgusted and turned off.
I would just encourage people that to really dive deep within themselves and think about, am I actually uncomfortable because I'm physically uncomfortable? Or am I uncomfortable because society has told me that I'm supposed to feel bad? We've been told that periods are disgusting and are shameful and to be hidden. And I think that we're just tipping the iceberg in terms of cracking all of that open and being able to be period. Who cares? Who cares? Towels exist for a reason. You lay them down, you use them at the end.
Go in the shower.
Exactly.
Like you said, I think you skew to a younger market. But are there people that are outraged by some of these topics ever?
I've had more issues with censorship than I have with people taking issue with my content.
That must be so frustrating. How do you go around that? You just keep pushing through until...
So unfortunately, the crappy part about that is that I wanted to start my TikTok with the hope of being able to talk about things candidly and using the real terms and not saying your hoo-ha and your boobies, being able to say your vulva and your breasts and talking about things like that.
Like a doctor would.
Exactly. But TikTok won't let me talk like that. So I have to talk about things in weird, vague, euphemisms, which is why I started my podcast, because I was fed up with having to censor everything that I talked about. And I was like, I can't talk about these things in the way that I want to, which is destigmatizing this language when I'm being censored so heavily. So then I made the podcast as a way to completely just say whatever I want in whatever language that I want and not have to deal with the intense censorship.
In another TikTok, you say how this generation, people are fortunate because it's the gayest
Yes.
generation.
The TikTok that you're mentioning was prompted by someone asking a question where they just very earnestly was like, I don't understand how everyone's gay now. And it's not that everyone's suddenly gay. People have been gay and trans and all of the other amazing identities in the community for centuries. But we are just now, because we're destigmatizing talking about it, having the terms to identify yourself, having more representation on TV and in film and being able to say, oh my gosh, that's me. If I had seen a queer woman couple on TV growing up, I think I would have been like, oh, I've seen the light. Like, it would have all come together so much sooner for me. And I think that's why so much of Gen Z is already identifying as queer, because they have more media than any generation before where they can say, that looks like me.
Do you have a girlfriend now?
I do have a girlfriend. Love them, love of my life. And yeah, it's been pretty great so far.
And I would like to discuss pronouns. The they, them.
She, they.
She, they.
Yes.
Can you give me a quick tutorial on just how we approach that?
So some people who use pronouns interchangeably like them interchanged in a sentence, but some people are like, yo, that's too confusing. I may think you're talking about two different people. And I've had people who use pronouns interchangeably that are like, I use them interchangeably, but pick one for the sentence and stick with it for the whole sentence.
Right.
So I would always say, ask the person. And the key with messing up people's pronouns is to not make it a big deal.
Right.
The more that you, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, that's gonna make them even more uncomfortable, where you can say, they were here today.
Right.
That kind of thing, where all it needs is the quick correction so that your friend can see, oh, they registered and fix it themselves without me having to tell them, and that's all they need.
And what will you tell the parents out there that do maybe see some earlier signs of your child being queer? What do you do to, make sure they feel comfortable in exploring that?
Give them space and love and I'll always love you no matter what, I'll always love you no matter what, and make it true. Don't have conditions with that I love you no matter what, as long as you're whatever. That having and encouraging your kid to have a space where they can express themselves is huge. And I think that if more parents were advocates from the get-go, or even as simple as changing it from the man you'll marry one day to the person you're going to marry one day.
I was just about to say that, because my friend encountered that recently, and they've been correcting themselves, saying, when you meet another man or woman, now they say both, which is really amazing.
There's also more than men and women in this world. There's people who fall in between. So we can always just say the person.
Yeah, your person.
The person that you will be with one day, the person that you have your first crush on. And I think that is just like a tiny little linguistics change that can make young queer people feel so seen.
Well, I love everything that you've been educating us on. This is so great. And your hashtag is?
My hashtag is peer-led sex ed, and I'm at Katie Haan on all my socials.
All right, well, there you have it. Bear brought to you by Giddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is a blast.